Josephine Spreitzer Pruse. Josephine was born in 1924 in Ely, the same year the Ely Memorial High School was completed. She is the youngest of 14 children born to Joseph and Catherine Judnich Spreitzer. She grew up on Chapman Street, a block from the school, and her family also had a 40-acre farm on the southeast side of Ely. She graduated in 1942 and then attended Ely Junior College and worked for a local dentist. She married Bernard Pruse in 1947. They spent 40 years in Mendota Heights raising their 4 children, where she worked as a dental assistant. In retirement, Josephine and Bernie returned to Ely in 1986.
So what year did you graduate, Josephine?
In 1942.
Okay. And what were the schools that were there in 1942?
Oh, there were numerous schools. There was the Pioneer School, the Lincoln School, a Savoy School, and the Washington Elementary, and the Memorial School. So I'm as old as the school. Ancient, a relic.
That's true. You are as old as your school. Did you walk to school?
Oh, yes. We lived within a block of the school.
Oh, really?
So I was never late for school. Perfect attendance.
Did you go home for lunch?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you remember your hours at school?
They were from 8 to 4.
Okay. Did you have to work at home while you were in school? Did you have chores?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I did not work that much at home because I had a lot of sisters to do all the work. There wasn't much left for me to do. Okay. So I started babysitting when I was 9 years old. So very much of a baby myself.
Well, I was going to say with your family or with neighbors?
Neighbors.
Okay. What was it like to be in school back then? What was the atmosphere?
Very, I would say serious is the word. Serious.
Okay.
We are all children of the Depression, and we were taught an awful lot. No, you can't have this, we can't afford it. I mean, it was something like you had to sacrifice an awful lot of what your wants because there were too many needs. Like food, clothing. So we tried to pull our own oars and earn some money towards that end.
And you were the oldest, so you didn't get hand-me-downs.
I was the youngest, I did get hand-me-downs.
You were also in school during World War II. What was that like?
Very solemn, very serious. A lot of the boys knew what their future would be, that they would have to enlist or get drafted. So my husband decided when the day he turned 18, he enlisted in the Navy.
Did you have other friends that went into the service then?
Oh, there were a lot of our senior boys that went into the service.
Was products and materials, were they rationed?
Sugar, I know, flour, a lot of the basics that people used a lot, coffee, and I don't know what else. I didn't worry about those things, my mother did.
Did you feel like you got a good education in Ely?
Wonderful. I would give our educators great marks.
Do you remember the size of your graduating class?
I beg your pardon?
The size of your graduating class?
I can't remember exactly how many, but I know there had to be about 110 at least.
Okay. And did you have a favorite area of study?
I really liked history and English.
And did you have a favorite teacher?
One of my favorites was, spell her name, first name. You can decide how to pronounce it. Tyne.
Tiny.
Soya. And she was the one that encouraged me to read.
And so you read a lot when you were in high school.
I loved reading.
What kind of books did you read?
Well, at the time, most of the books were adventure. I can't really pinpoint. My very all-time favorite book was by Charles Dickens, The Tale of Two Cities. A lot of drama.
Did you have a best friend in high school?
Yes, I did have a close friend, a couple of them.
Okay.
Emma, she was a Zupek. She used to walk from Chandler and then stop at our house, which was a block away from the school, to warm up a bit for the last trek over. That was a trek for her. So we got to be friendly. And Esther Cherney, she lived across the street from us. Did you say that we lived on that farm? We lived in town.
Oh, you lived in town. Okay.
Oh, yes, on Chapman Street.
Oh, in Chapman. Okay. Did you participate in any sports or any activities while you were in school?
Well, I belonged to the pep club. And they had a glee club, which I should have belonged to, but I couldn't do any after-school activity because I don't know if you're, no, I don't think you would know. His name was Buffalo. He was from Greece. He had a candy store, a candy shop. So I would babysit for his wife and their two boys after school.
Did you work on the paper at all?
No, not at all.
But you read it.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the name of the paper?
The Ely Highlights.
What are your best memories of being in school?
Well, I really don't have any best memories. We were there to learn. And there was, of course, we were brought up very strict, and we did not want to make any noise, I really mean noise.
So
My sister was a secretary for the principal at the Washington Elementary, so we had to really behave.
What did you do for fun in the 1940s?
Oh, we played games outdoors, hide and seek, all those fun games. No TV at the time, so we had to make our fun.
Yeah. Did you go to the movies in Ely?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I remember the movie that came to town. It was called The Ten Commandments. And of course, my mother being very religious, we didn't go to too many movies. So she let us go to this movie. And when we would at church, we were at church a lot. And we would genuflect before we'd get into the pew. So when we went to the theater, we were genuflecting to get into the row. That was funny.
Did they have homecoming games?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
And did you participate in the homecoming celebration?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
At prom? Did you go to any proms?
No, I didn't.
No. Okay.
My
Bernie was
mother
in your
did
class.
not let me date. I said she's very strict.
Okay. So you didn't date in high school at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. How did going to school and growing up in Ely influence your career and other choices later in life?
Well, I don't attach that much importance to, what I gleaned from learning in school, because we had to apply ourselves to what was the present, our lives. And at the time the war was going on, and so there was quite an exodus of people from Ely seeking jobs elsewhere to contribute to the war effort.
So did you have friends, women that worked in some of the industries?
Rephrase that.
Did you have friends who went and worked in, especially women who worked in industries to help the war effort?
Well, I'm thinking about, in particular, Catherine Chimser, who was in a very highly secretive, what do you call it, with the people that had the atom bomb. And they met with President Roosevelt at the time. So Catherine was the secretary because she was highly trusted. It was very confidential. So there were a lot of people that graduated that really made a mark for themselves. Like Willard Damage, for one. Keith, Brunel. And there are members of my family, too, that contributed to the war effort. All my brothers served.
They all served?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody came home safe?
Thank God. I think my mother prayed a lot.
So when you graduated and so many of the boys went into the service, then that means there weren't too many people to date when you finally got a chance to date at 18.
Actually, we couldn't get serious about anybody. So actually, when Bernie came home on leave, he decided he would ask me to go to a movie, and that's when we started. Our relationship was very platonic, I would say, because he was in service. And I was living at home under the thumb of my mother. She was a good mother.
Yes.
I mean, she had to worry about 14 children. And my dad was quite a worker.
Did you work at all when you were in high school? Did you have any summer jobs?
Not really, no. Nothing permanent. After, I was in junior college when I started to work for Dr. Cole.
And that was your first work in
That was my first real job.
Yeah. What advice would you give to kids who are in school today?
I would say invest in your future. Do not rely on your cell phones. Study. Make the best of what you have. At hand, your education means a lot for your future. You're investing in your life.
So we all want to know, Josephine, what is the secret to a long and happy life?
Do everything in moderation. Enjoy life, but do everything in moderation. Think positively. And when you get to this age, think young.
Okay, well, did you have anything else you'd like to say about growing up in Ely or going to
Ely
school?
is quite a unique town. We were a very thriving community. We had over 6,000 people in Ely at the time when I was growing up. And it was such a thriving community. The mines were going full tilt. And they were the early settlers, and that's why my folks, my dad, immigrated from Austria to come to work in the mines. And then Mom and Dad were starting to have quite a few kids already. Mr. Trezona, who was a captain of the mine, told my dad that it's too dangerous for him to work in the mine because he has a large family. They were doing a lot of dynamiting, and it was not really a good job for him to do at the time, to be there, at risk. So he was able to get a job at the water plant to calibrate pumps to make sure we got water for the city of Ely from Burnside. And besides that, then he farmed the acreage beyond Boundary Street.
So what was it that drew you back to Ely? What do you like about the town?
It was my husband's decision to come back because he liked hunting, fishing, and he wanted to be back to where he was born and raised and start, his hobbies. He liked doing woodwork, anything with wood. He made that little table there for me. Really? Little table, yes. He liked to do, on our lake shore, he built a little gazebo with a swing, a little windmill, and the wishing well is still there, but we had a flood over a year ago. It was so bad. So it took out the gazebo and the swing. I was heartbroken, but I was already here when all that happened.